Niue and Yanchen had been arguing about which road to take since before breakfast. His arm was around her shoulders. She was gesturing with her free hand. "The eastern road is faster," Yanchen said. "The eastern road is faster if nothing goes wrong. Nothing is going to go wrong. You don't know that." "I have reasonable confidence," Niue cut in, "on the eastern road." He looked down at her. She looked up at him. The arm around her shoulders did not move. The argument had not made them any less entangled. Wang Haoyue walked past them both. "We're taking the eastern road." "See?" Yanchen said, without looking away from Niue. "That proves nothing," she answered, and turned forward, still fitted under his arm, close enough that their steps matched without either of them trying. Wang Haoyue had known from the first moment in the sacred spring that Niue was something she couldn't confidently label. But she saw her. She was the first one to see her, and it took time before any other foxes acknowledged her existence. She had seen something in the fractured reflection and walked toward it before she understood why. Now she was almost certain that her goddess was somewhere in there, the goddess who lost her life 100 years ago. What she was also sure of, and had discussed carefully with Langsheng on more than one occasion in the quiet after the others had gone to sleep, was that something else was in there too. Something Niue carried that had no name, a weight that surfaced and submerged every now and then. She had been cataloging it for a long time. She still didn't know what it was. Today it kept coming back. That was the difference. Every time she almost set it aside, the afternoon returned it to her like a crack in the mirror that kept catching the light no matter where she looked. The market was warm and loud. Niue stopping at stalls with no intentions of buying from them, Yanchen stopping wherever he stopped, close behind her, his hand finding the back of her neck when they moved and her shoulder when they were still. He said something low near her ear. She tilted her head back toward him and said something back, and whatever it was made him freeze, and the vendor between them felt something very urgent to arrange on his table. Wang Haoyue looked at a ball of fabric. "Should we?" Lansheng started. "No. They're blocking the whole—" "I know." She felt his hand at her back briefly, warmly moving past. She kept looking at the fabric. Ahead of them, Niue said something and Yanchen laughed, and she said it again slightly differently just to hear it twice. He turned and looked at her when she did, and the look lasted a moment longer than the joke required. The first crack arrived in the middle of this. Wang Haoyue had known the vendor's stack was going to fall before it did. She had already stepped aside. Lansheng looked at her. She looked at the scattered goods. Neither of them said anything. They cut through the lower part of the market, heading toward the tea house Lansheng liked. A narrow street, quieter, the kind of street you only knew if you'd been there before. Niue glanced toward a side alley as they passed. "There's a good tea cellar down there. You should try it," she said offhand, already moving further. "The old woman can't hear well, but she knows what everyone needs." "The way you mentioned somewhere familiar." Wang Haoyue looked at the alley, then at Niue's back. "They arrived in this town 3 days ago, together, except for the time when they went to sleep. They were together all the time." Wang Haoyue looked at Lansheng. He noticed too. Comments that were too specific, nearly prophetic moments. The weird, tired sound that settled into her voice sometimes, that felt very far from tiredness and exhaustion, like someone who had walked a road so many times they had stopped seeing it and were simply walking. They found somewhere to sit as the sun moved closer to the horizon, ordered food and wine. Niue and Yanchen took up the space of 1.5 people at the table. Wang Haoyue settled beside Lansheng and leaned back, and his shoulder was there already, waiting for her. Her fingers found the necklace at his throat without meaning to. The pendant was warm from his skin, catching the lantern light, the same way it did the first time she saw it. Around his neck too. Different circumstances entirely. She and Niue had come to that cursed village months ago for 2 things. A demon and an artifact. Lansheng had come for the demon on the request of the estate owner. The artifact had already been his. Achen had arrived with a company of immortals and warriors for reasons of his own and had taken one look at Niue and apparently forgotten what those reasons were. The demon had been dealt with collectively, but that turned out to be only the beginning of their problems. Afterwards, standing in the wreckage of whatever building had suffered the most, Wang Haoyue had looked at Lansheng and at the necklace and realized she had already made her decision. She could have taken it. She still could have. He was watching her look at it and not stopping her. But there was something larger on the horizon, something all of them could feel. She Yuan, the thing underneath it all and the reason for almost everything that happened. The necklace mattered. Lansheng would need it more than her mission did, at least in her opinion. Still thinking about taking it? You can take it if you want, he said. Well, I'm thinking about many things that I could take, but none of them are the necklace, she said, looking at him in a way that made his cheeks go a bit more pink. Across the table, Yanchen had produced something out of a thin air, a small piece of candied orange peels from the market. He held it out to Niue. She leaned forward to take it, and he moved it slightly and kissed her instead, pulled back with the thing still in his hand and ate it with complete composure. Niue stared at him. Are you? Wang Haoyue started. Don't, Lansheng said. She looked at him. It only encourages them, he said. She looked back at the table. Niue and Yanchen bringing up the road argument again. The evening continued in a slow, leisurely manner. It happened more often today. The cracks, the things that felt too familiar. Wang Haoyue said. Yes, he understood immediately. That was all. They had said the rest of it before many times. Today it just happened enough times more to make a remark on it. The tea shop, the vendor's stack, the sound in Niue's voice sometimes. The one that felt like someone carrying more than this afternoon could account for. She looked at the pendant in the lantern light and thought about the thing she was almost certain of. Her goddess, in there somewhere, in a form she didn't fully understand, carrying something that had no name in this or any moment she had witnessed. She thought about Niue's face sometimes when she looked at Yanchen. Not like someone in love, but of course she was in love and it showed, but like someone who had already lost him and was living inside the loss and choosing to be here anyway. She thought about why. What did she know but refused to address, even if asked? Oh, you're being silly, elder sister, she would say, cutting the topic off. So she kept watching. The second crack arrived when Lansheng started a sentence and she finished it. They both noticed. The third crack arrived a few minutes later. Someone at the next table mentioned the road conditions north of town, and Niue commented on the possibility of encountering soldiers on the track that she could not be aware of. Too much wine eventually, too much laughter. Niue was mid-sentence and Yanchen reached over and tucked a strand of her hair behind her ear, unhurried, not asking anything, and she stopped mid-sentence, looked at him, and there were a few seconds where the table existed at a great distance from where it actually was in reality. Then she finished her sentence and he responded, and the evening continued as if nothing had interrupted it. Wang Haoyue's fingers were still playing with the necklace. The pendant caught the lantern light, and she thought about the decision she made months ago and how quickly she made it and how little she questioned it after. She looked at Lansheng. He was watching her. What? She asked. Nothing. You're doing the face. What face? The one where you're thinking about something you're not going to say. She looked back at the table. Niue was laughing at something, but she could feel the weight crushing her. Just for a glimpse, but it was there. She caught Lansheng's eye. He had seen it too. The town was quiet as they walked through it. Niue and Yanchen ahead, his arm around her again, her hand in his sleeve. Haoyue clutched at Lansheng's hand. He didn't say anything. The shifted tones, the loneliness glaring through Niue's eyes despite the fact the smile never left her lips. The specific way she looked at them sometimes. All the things she knew but she shouldn't. All the moments that felt too familiar. She lived like someone living inside a dream that she knew too well. Wang Hao Yue shook her head. That would be impossible. It must be something only gods would understand, something too big for a small fox priestess like her. Maybe that was enough for now. Of them, Niue laughed at something, and for one moment it was simply a good evening and 4 friends at the end of a good day and nothing else. However, right now, for Wang Hao Yue, it felt like 1,000 times she had thought so.